after we learned a lot about historical glasses, it's now the time to learn more about the hometown of Immanuel Kant, of the past and present. And I'm delighted that my dear friend and fellow board member, Svetlana Kolbanyova of Kaliningrad, who was born there, will give us a presentation on her and Immanuel Kant's hometown. It's this time a more general overview because we have now many new participants in our table talk. That's why some of the information that Svetlana is going to provide to us might be known to a number of people here, but it's always interesting to come back to places that we've already been to. And dear Svetlana, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Marianne, and thanks to all friends joining us tonight. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, very well.
But before we start, I also must tell you that I find no words to tell you how delighted I am to hear your presentation, dear Simon and David. And by the way, I must say I'm historian now, even professionally, and my particular area of interest is even the culinary heritage and also the table manners of Königsberg, even exactly to Immanuel Kant's time. So I've learned so much and I had so much ideas I'll try to explain to myself in the future, and be aware of questions I will send to you afterwards. So thank you so much, and it was really a great start. And thank you also for your help to me, because I guess it was David who already introduced to us the very ancient times of Kaliningrad Königsberg. So we don't need now to tell you about Teutonic Knights and the time when the city of Königsberg was found. So we can switch now, thanks to Hannes Wiesel, who is supporting me, just to the next picture. I will try even yes, to be short, but some general data. As Königsberg was separated from Germany, so does Kaliningrad, and since 1255 it was Königsberg, and since 1945 it was still Königsberg, but after the Second World War it became part of Russian Federation. So it was renamed even in 1946. The old city of Königsberg became the name of Kaliningrad. And this year we will celebrate 75 years of officially administrative district, Kaliningrad region, part of Russian Federation, still separated from, as we used to say, big Russian. But on the next picture, you will see that what are our close neighbors, and sometimes even good neighbors are much better than far relatives. So I guess I say not too much when I tell you that we do love Lithuania and Polish friends and neighbors, and we're really it's so pity, and we are missing a lot Poland and Lithuania and Poland, since the borders are closed. So now, even since 1 year, more than a year, or I would say exactly the year, even, yes, my last travel to Nidden on the Curonian Spit was exactly 1 year ago, on the 16th of March, to a festival on the Curonian Spit. And since then, we are sitting there, separated from not only the Russian territory, but also from Europe. But nevertheless, as Immanuel Kant spent his whole time in East Prussia, we still find a lot of places and a lot of reasons to be happy with what we have. So Kaliningrad, just some general data to you. That Kaliningrad region is, and Kaliningrad itself, as the most western part of Russian Federation. and its population more than or around 500,000 living in the capital, and it's still half of the whole population of the region, as we have around 1 million people living in the Kaliningrad region, and we are still the second largest city after St. Petersburg in the northwestern part of in the northwestern federal district of Russian Federation. So on the next picture, what we will see there, that's even the center of the capital of Kaliningrad. And I brought you even two pictures. Some of you who have been to Kaliningrad will certainly recognize even the Victory Square with its church, the Russian Orthodox Cathedral in front. And behind you will see the picture from old times. I would say it's the beginning of the 20th century. Because if the memory of Königsberg is still there in Kaliningrad, and it's now arising since 30 years, we have a perestroika, and we can even learn and research on the memory of the city of Königsberg. But Immanuel Kant has always been there, also in the Soviet times. I will come to that later. So on the next picture, I would like to give you some ideas, especially to those of you who have never been to Kaliningrad. When you somehow manage it to visit our region, to visit Kaliningrad, what would you do? Certainly the...
Sorry, Svetlana, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was just, I'm sorry, it was just a mistake. So I was about to give you even some ideas where to go besides the grave of the great philosopher, the greatest son of Kaliningrad. So just what I used, what I prefer to do in my free time, where I prefer to go. First of all, it's the Curonian Spit. It's a very thin and sandy spit dividing the lagoon, the Curonian Lagoon, from the Baltic Sea, and it's almost exactly 100 kilometers long, and it's part of it belongs to Lithuania, to Klaipėda district, and to one part, even half of it belongs to Kaliningrad. So it's a nature reservation area, no industry, no huge settlements, only sandy beaches and sandy dunes, and only nature. So also in these times, and the weather now in March in Kaliningrad is not really fine. I've heard that in Scotland they call it pure Baltic. So in fact, we do have a pure Baltic now in Kaliningrad with rainy days. But once you visit the Baltic Sea, the Baltic beach, you forget it all. The other one point, the second idea where I would prefer to go, you will see on the next picture, and that is the harbor. Certainly, Kaliningrad as a seaport, as we've heard even from Simon and David, as Königsberg used to be, and Kaliningrad uses also its heritage. Even, I guess, the first expeditions to the sea started already in 1946, even as Königsberg became Kaliningrad. Now the port, the ancient or the old port of Königsberg is in the very middle of the city, and the ships you see there in front of you on the picture are not actually in use, are not industrial ships anymore, because they belong to a museum, to a federal ocean museum, which we housed in Kaliningrad, and it could not be another way. It also has some monuments belonging to Immanuel Kant, because on the territory, on the area of this museum, there have been a way where Immanuel Kant used to go walking after his meals. might be even after he had his meals with his glass we've seen. But well, now this the area of the port, of the seaport, you see also some column, a bridge behind the ships. The seaport of Kaliningrad is now a territory which will be developed, because as I know, in summer there will be a big conference in Kaliningrad, an urbanistic festival and a conference dedicated to the future perspectives of the development of Kaliningrad as a city, as an urban territory. And our examples are certainly Düsseldorf or a Hafen city of Hamburg. So might be in 2 or 3 years when you come to Kaliningrad, and I mention especially those like Marianne and Gerfried, you will not recognize this place. But I also love to go to the seaport area, because now there are a lot of creative areas growing up close to the port. There are cafes, there are ateliers and galleries, and it's also a kind of sweet memory for me, because I was born in Kaliningrad, as my mother also, and my dad was a sailor. And as I was a child, I loved it very much to come to the port to greet my father, to meet him after a long journey, which he made around 6 months. So sometimes there are similarities. I just wanted to say that as I was following the presentation of Simon and David, I very much times thought to myself how close and how similar our city is. Because just for example, you mentioned something about the whaling industry, and also Kaliningrad has a huge whaling fleet and whaling fleet history in 1950s or 1960s. And that's also a page of the history of this harbor, of this seaport you see on this picture. But well, what else could you visit when you come to Kaliningrad? Yes, it's the zoo. And it's not occasionally why I brought this as number 3 as a recommendation to go in Kaliningrad, because I'm working there. As I told to you, I am historian. I graduated from the university and made my master in culinary heritage of East Prussia and regional East Prussian history. And I was very happy to find a job at the Königsberg Tiergarten, Kaliningrad Zoo, because it's one of the 3 eldest zoos in the Russian Federation, as it was found 1896. And this May we will celebrate as the zoo our 125 year celebration. So we do love our history, but we also do love our anteater. We are the only one zoo in the Russian Federation which hosts this wonderful pair of the species, but well, also the bear, or my personal totem is this Prigola the elephant. And Prigola, you see you see her, that's her. She celebrated her 15th birthday in October 2020, so she's quite as old as I am, but she has more power, I guess, and more popularity. But anyhow, the Kaliningrad Zoo is, it has been in the surrounding of Königsberg, and it's now in the very heart of the city of Kaliningrad, one of the most popular and most famous touristic objects for tourists, but also for Kaliningrad themselves. And on the next picture, I will show to you one thing from the zoo. It happened once in 2015 that there was a place, an empty place on the main alley, on the main street of the Kaliningrad Zoo, and we had not so much money. At that time, I was not part of the personnel, I was not part of the staff, but I still was a very good friend to this enterprise, and I went there to just for a walk or for translate something let's say, historical papers or whatever. So I've heard from the director, from the chief of the zoo, that they had an idea to make a fundraising. The very first time in the history of the zoo, there was an idea to create a fundraising campaign to raise money for Children's Labyrinth of evergreen trees, as you see that. And I also donated some money, 2 trees, to plant these trees for me, for myself, and for my father, who already passed, but I still remember him and me walking through the zoo. And well, it also has a huge conference hall. And as it happened, Martby, Marianne, and Gerfried Horst will remember this story. It was in February, I guess, as we, our KANTS Society, Friends of Kant in Königsberg, we held our annual Kant Reise, Kant Travel to Kaliningrad. And just occasionally, our annual conference, we held at that conference hall at the zoo. And in the coffee break, Marianne and Gerfried went to the office and donated for some trees. Well, the story is not over. As we were asked for whom we would donate these trees, we answered which person or what name could we mention for that occasion, and the answer was any person who lived. No characters like Harry Potter or whatever, but any other person who actually lived wherever in the world. And as Gerfried Horst asked, so can we please donate a tree for Immanuel Kant? The answer was yes. So next time when you come visit Kaliningrad, please don't forget to come to the Kaliningrad Zoo. Might be the first time you will be there. And there will be a table with all the names of all the donators who gave his money to make this wonderful green labyrinth. No one, not a simple tree got lost. So it's now amazing. And the picture you see with the monument for the first director, for the founder of the zoo, that's even from last summer, from summer 2020. So on the table of the donators, you will see the names of Marianne Motherby, of John Motherby, of Gerfried Horst, and also of Immanuel Kant. Well, nevertheless, there are also serious museums who are dealing with Immanuel Kant. In the next picture, for sure, we will show to you the cathedral. It's one of the eldest churches, and it's the heart of the city. It's not the eldest one. The eldest one is Juditen Church. It's in the suburbs of the city, and this one is standing in the middle, in the center of Kaliningrad, the former Königsberg, on the island which used to be Kneiphof, is now called KANTS Island, and it hosts in the tower of this cathedral, it hosts a Kant museum. I have been there yesterday. There are a lot of ideas to rebuild it, and the museum is now working on to improve their library, because Immanuel Kant was not only the philosopher, the geographer, or whatever, he was also a librarian. He spent lots of time working as librarian. Our society, Friends of Kant and Königsberg, supports this museum, and we already provided lots of exhibits. And dear Gerfried, I've seen it yesterday. Our books are there, and they do a lot of work to improve the room which is dedicated to the Kant Tischgesellschaft, to the Kant table. The table is already there, and yesterday they put some tables with explanations there, but later on we will talk about how we can support even this Immanuel Kant museum to present life of Immanuel Kant in the better way. It's not only the one museum which is which is researching or making research or presenting in the Königsberg history in nowadays Kaliningrad. Another one museum I would like to present to you is the Museum of Fine Art. It's a very close partnership which brings us together. We first communicated to this museum as it has been a gallery in another place in Kaliningrad, and some years ago it made a wonderful exhibition dedicated to Käthe Kollwitz. And now this Museum of Fine Arts is not a gallery anymore, as really a big museum, and it's now in the former Königsberg Stock Exchange. I brought you two pictures, one from the Königsberg Times, and above it is the new palace, even quite good renovated. I've been there even last week for an opening of a new exhibition. This Museum of Fine Arts is now divided in two parts, and it now has an affiliate in Gvardesk, a smaller town close to Kaliningrad at the river of Prigola. In the house, you'll see it on the picture where Lovis Corinth was born and grew up. And in summer this year, we hope very much that this summer we can host there a plein air and a conference dedicated to Lovis Corinth, because this year is a very special one, is a German-Russian partnerships year. So a lot of projects are now running in Kaliningrad. Also, I hate this word in this, how they call it, physical format, so physical and digital. Well, we still the hope that at least in summer or in autumn we can pass the borders and come visit us, and you can also come and visit us in Kaliningrad there. But nevertheless, we are still. It goes on with our work, and not only by the state or municipal museums. I also want to tell you, to present to you some private or some initiatives of volunteers, which you will see on the next pictures. Because we are now recognizing that art, culture, and history is that what attracts tourists more. In this pandemic year, in this past pandemic year, Kaliningrad became one of the hottest destinations around Russia, because even Russian tourists discovered the region of Kaliningrad due to its nature, due to its history, due to its, well, I hope also due to its people. Who do a lot to conserve, to rebuild the history. And this one is, it used to call, it started as Ostpreußen Fans, so East Prussian Fans, and it's really a brand new name. Last week, even this group or the civil initiative renamed itself to Ruin Keepers. If you're keen to the social media, you can try to find this community on the Instagram. I set in this name, ruin.keepers. It's easy to find, and there are also a lot of informations in English just for you to read. And on the regular basis, this group puts informations about local ruins or local initiatives or groups or even actions which take part mostly on the weekend, when we go out to, let's say, an old church ruin, to take care of it, to bring it on top, and afterwards to give a guided tour there. I once have been there and was a huge fan, because we were not only hardworking, we had also a lot of fun, and afterwards we've made a fun picnic. Another one idea which started very small, you'll see it on the next picture. A good friend of mine, Alexandra, she has been at a museum in Kaliningrad. Then she became a freelancer, made herself even independent as a painter, and she somehow discovered a sympathy for old doors. You see there even some just quite normal entrance doors in Insterburg, Chernihovsk, or in Tilsit, or wherever. Well, not really fine they looked, but it came that this girl, Alexandra, got support from the State Restoration Fund, and on the picture close to the map you see even before and after. So 1 month ago they started an education course, a training of restorers. It began with 12 people, and as I've heard even from my friends, they are now finishing this course so that another group will take part in this education course, and they are renovating old houses, old doors, and trying to restore old dolls and to build it again in the old houses. So, well, I mean, small steps, but a Google map, which you also see, and you can find it also as Google map, old doors, East Prussia, or old doors of Königsberg, old doors of Tilsit. So while we are not allowed to travel naturally, you can at least travel on a digital basis. So I welcome you I invite you to Google to Kaliningrad while we are sitting at home. And on the next picture, we are now switching to all symbols, new signs. Certainly, there is a central square in Kaliningrad where Royal Castle stood, where even the city of Königsberg was found 1255. The Royal Castle was bombed out in August 1944 and then ruined in April 1945, and then it was demolished in the 60s by the Soviets. Afterwards, there was built this House of the Soviets, which was never constructed to the end. And now there is an idea or a project, I would say it's a whole project to demolish this House of Soviets and to rebuild it somehow. Nikita Ervain is an architect from St. Petersburg. He won the competition to redesign, recreate this square. Just even an hour ago, I talked to architect advisor, and he told me Slava Genne, we know him because he was once part of our conference, of our annual KANTS travel, I guess 4 years ago. Vyacheslav Genne has been a chief architect of the city of Kaliningrad and is now architect advisor to the governor for Kaliningrad region, and he told to me that he's now full-time busy with this project of demolishing the House of the Soviets. I don't know if the Royal Castle will be rebuilt on this place, because you can imagine that this one would be a very expensive project. But one solution I've got from some kids and close neighborhoods to me, and you'll see that on the next picture. Which surprise, if you ever heard of Minecraft, of these worldwide game kids used to play, you'll see the Königsberg Castle rebuilt in this Minecraft. Please do not ask me what an 11-year-old kid would do with the Königsberg Castle in this computer game, but I find it somehow amazing, and that's why I put even this picture on this presentation. So at least this digitalizing of the history is possible. And by the way, as I was following your presentation, I said to myself, what a pity that I did not include in my presentation pictures of a project running now by the Federal Baltic Immanuel Kant University, by our university, where I was even making my master and where I'm actually studying, because my colleagues of mine from the Institute of Humanitarian of Digital Humanities are working on digitalizing, on creating of a digital model of Immanuel Kant's house and also of his table with all the interior and also glasses belonging to itself. So be aware of mails, which possibly will come into your inbox in the next days or weeks. And the next picture comes, which means thank you for your attention, and thank you for your patience, because well, my English is not so well as my German is. But anyhow, I'll try my best to answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Svetlana. That was a great presentation. Thanks a lot. And I invite anybody to ask questions or make comments. I'm just trying to check whether there are already any questions. Maybe one or the other wants to add something after having visited Kaliningrad already before, and maybe finding something new that has now brought to his or her attention. For those of you who don't know about our annual trip to Kaliningrad, we go every year in April to Kaliningrad, which used to be Königsberg, to the hometown of Immanuel Kant, to celebrate Immanuel Kant's birthday on the 22nd of April. And the birthday party on the 22nd of April is usually the end of our about 5-day trip. And whoever is interested in joining us next year should write me a little note so that I put you on the waiting list. We have not finalized the program yet. Unfortunately, we can't go to Kaliningrad this year. It's the second time that we can't go due to the pandemic, but we are very optimistic that next year we will be again right there. And our trips are very popular, and we always have different items on our agenda. It's very worthwhile. And those of you who haven't been to Immanuel Kant's hometown are kindly invited to join us. And the others who have already been there, most of them would always go back. So you, of course, have priority because you have been such faithful members of our society. Now,